Winter is coming. G'day, Stu here from UAVfutures, and today, well, winter might be coming for some of you guys in the Northern Hemisphere, and what we're going to be doing, we're going to be checking out this tiny little drone. This is the Armour 67, and you might be wanting some brushless FPV action to fly around indoors when winter's here, it's raining outside, it's cold, you still want to get your FPV fix. So, this little bad boy might be the answer. We're going to be putting it on the bench, breaking it down, having a look quickly at some of its components, and then the fun stuff. Let's take it out, rip it around. I'll fly it around my house. We'll also take it to Grumpy Trev's little secret underground test track and see, could this be a great FPV solution when it's raining outside and you're stuck indoors? Anyway, enough rambling, let's get started. Alrighty, so here's the tiny little beast on the bench, and I'm pretty excited because I've never actually seen a micro brushless FPV quad with protection on the outside quite this small. So if I put it on my hand, you can see it is absolutely tiny. Now look, I don't want to say it too much, but this really could be a TINYWHOOP killer. I know a lot of people love their TINYWHOOPs. That's what they fly around indoors. It's what a lot of people learn to fly on. Pretty docile little quad, but it's a brushed FPV quadcopter. This bad boy, it's brushless, it runs on 2S, and this thing is going to have a ton more power, and I also think that brushless motors last quite a bit longer. And just like the TINYWHOOP, it's got these protectors around the outside, so if you're bumping into walls and all that sort of jazz, not only is it going to protect the components, it's going to protect things like your walls, your TVs, all that sort of jazz, so it shouldn't be doing too much damage to your indoor stuff inside. Anyway, let's stick it on the scales, find out how much it weighs, because it's going to be very, very light. So this is without a battery. It's coming in at 41 grams. With the battery, which is a little bit heavier, it's coming in at 64 grams. So very, very light little quadcopter. Should be a lot of fun to fly around inside. Now, as far as the components go, we're going to briefly go through them. So starting on the outside, you've got these 4-blade, tiny little props. I guess we should say, you know, it comes as sort of one unibody piece of frame on the top. I think that's going to make it very rigid, pretty robust. You've got a tiny little bit of camera protection on the top, and that's protecting your VTX camera combo. It's only rocking 25 milliwatts. It's got a little dipole on the top, so look, you're not going to be getting crazy range or anything like that. But if you're just flying around inside, I think it's definitely going to be doing a very good job. Underneath, this is where we've got some of the magic. So these tiny little motors here, these are 1103, I think they're 1103, 10,000 kV motors. So on 2S, this thing should have more than enough poke for some indoor FPV action. I can't wait to rip it around Trevor's little indoor racetrack. Now those tiny little motors, they're hooked up. You can see, I'm going to flash a picture on the screen anyway, but maybe I don't need to because you can see them pretty clearly here. That's a 10 amp BOHELIS ESC, so that part's pretty cool. You're not going to be blowing more than 10 amps, absolutely. I don't think this thing's going to draw very many amps whatsoever. We should be getting some long flight times. And then the only other component that we've got in here, we've got our F3 OSD board, so our F3 flight controller rocking Betaflight OSD. It's pretty crazy the amount of technology got packed in something that's really fitting in the palm of your hand. You could put this in your pocket. Now they come in some different receiver options. I've got to change my receiver out because I'm probably going to be putting this one on my Tyrannus. I'll link all the different options down below anyway, but yeah, overall a pretty cool little FPV quadcopter. Now as far as the design goes, I think this is one of the best indoor FPV brushless quadcopters that I've seen. That's such a mouthful to say, but I say indoors, and it's really important to make that distinction because we've had some micros like the AR Fun, also the Lizard 95. Those bad boys were tiny, brushless FPV ones as well, but they were so fast. They'd rock around on 3S, those things absolutely ripped. But this thing, I don't think that's what this is made for. This is made for fun. This is made for when it's raining outside, you want to pick this up, you want to fly it around. It seems very robust, like it's not going to break. I really like the way that it's designed. Everything is sort of compact in the middle. The only thing on the top is this little camera. They've got a little dipole antenna, so they're much more crash resistant. It's super light. I think this is going to be a little dream indoor FPV quadcopter if it flies well, and it's got a built-in OSD. So yeah, overall, I think they've done it's really, really well, cleverly designed, and it should be a lot of fun to a lot of people when they just want their FPV fix, but they're stuck indoors. Now look, the quality of thing, I'd probably give it like a 6 out of 10. Some of the printing's okay. The solder joints there, maybe like a 7 out of 10, kind of shiny. Nothing looks too dodgy in there. There is some little scuff marks on the motors and stuff like that. I do wish they had a little connector on the end that was an XT30. I'm not too sure how I feel about that boy, but yeah, and I would like maybe a little protection of the ESCs. On the bottom is where your battery pad actually would go, and you actually need to hold that down with some rubber bands. I don't think that's a very good design choice. The quality of the battery straps, look, that part's probably not too good. I would prefer some other battery straps instead of just some little rubber bands. I'm probably going to jiffy something up because I don't think that's going to hold your batteries on too well. The battery quality, you know, well, what can we really say? It's just a cheap no-name battery, but I don't think you need very much to be pulling, you know, your current out of these motors anyway. Now, as far as the pros and cons go, look, I'm a really big fan of this thing. I love the components, I love the shape, I love how light it is, I love how compact it is, and if you just wanted to put this almost in your back pocket and be able to fly like absolutely anywhere, the office or in Trevor's, you know, in Trevor's indoor racetrack, something like this is going to be a ton of fun, especially for those people who want that fix and it's raining outside. There's nothing more depressing than wanting to fly, having some time off, but you've got nothing to actually fly because the weather sucks. So this thing is going to make a lot of people happy, but it's not perfect. I would like to change the little battery connector on the bottom. I would also like a different battery strap as well. So most of my problems have to do with the battery, and then maybe I might run a little like zip tie or something on the top just to sort of stop this bit, or maybe even put a little bit more hot glue because over time I can see this little top part breaking. Anyway, that's it quickly on the bench. What we should do, let's get out, let's have a bit of fun. I'm going to fly this thing around, show you some flight footage around my place, and then what I really want to do, we'll take it over to Grumpy Trev's place and test out his little indoor racetrack that he's been working on building. Alright, so let's cut to some flight footage in 3, 2, 1. Alrighty, so here we go, flying around my tiny little messy house. You'll have to forgive me for the mess, you know. I think being a new parent, trying to raise a child, the house seems to get messy a lot quicker than it used to. Anyway, onto the actual quad itself, and we've jumped straight into the flight experience because we've got 2 flights to go through because we're going to be jumping over to Trev's place soon. But if you're flying this thing around looking for speed, that's not really what this quad is about. This is more of like a casual, fun little indoor flyer. Now, we're going to talk about the reception here. And anybody knows this is a DVR recording. The reception is a lot better than this. So usually the DVR shows a worse quality image than what you're actually seeing. But nonetheless, I'd say the reception was like a 7 out of 10. Now, it was a pretty docile thing. So if you're looking for some like crazy insanity flying or anything like that, this thing in no way compares to the Lizard or to the AR Fun. Those things were absolute beasts. But where this thing is a bit better, where the Armour 67 excels, it is so small, it can fit through some tiny gaps, and it is so much more suited to indoor flying because there's no way I'd really be able to fly the AR Fun very well around here, and those tiny little guards mean you can bounce off everything and you can just keep flying. Now, it's pretty stable, so in the air I felt like it was stable. It definitely felt a little bit heavier than the TINYWHOOP, but it also felt like it had a lot more power as well, so if you punch this thing, you could definitely feel a lot more than the Whoop is anyway. One thing I did notice is when the battery started to get low, the camera really started to dissipate, so you started to get a lot more black flickers and those sorts of things, so I think towards the end of this flight we're going a little bit quicker, and the more juice you draw out of the battery and the lower it gets, so there was a little blackout. That part I did see, you know, the worse your image quality actually got. So you need to make sure you're landing this thing, but I guess it gives you a bit of a warning, you know, if you're getting some of those black flickers like that one right there, you know, look, it's probably time to land. But overall, I think if you want a great replacement to your TINYWHOOP and you want something brushed, this thing, it can be a lot of fun to go exploring with one of these. Alright, driving over to Grumpy Trev's place. He's been talking a lot about developing sort of some underground track, especially when it's really hot, so he wants somewhere to fly around in his crawl space. We'll have to see how it is, but let's cut out when we get to Grumpy Trev's place in 3, 2, 1, boop! Rightio Trev, we're in your workshop, that's why it looks so nice and clean. I've come over to fly your underground track. What's happened? Alright, I thought it was all going to be set up. You've been raving about this track, or is it still in the process?
No, in the process. Gee whiz, you want to see how much, well, I nearly said you should see how much crap is under there to actually clean up. So. Alright,
so what's this? We're going to put a demo rope out or something like that?
We're going to put a demo rope out.
It looks like you got some hair, Trevor. Put it on.
Look at that, yeah.
Alright, let's put that rope up and then let's fly it around with a little Armour 67. So with all those jokes aside, here's, I guess, like this is like an extra sneak peek of Trev's workshop. Just look how much stuff is in this place. It is absolutely ridiculous. Chock to chock from wall to wall. There is so much stuff in here, so much cool stuff just piled up. So Trev's been hoarding RC products for quite a long time. Anyway, so we're flying along. Of course, the grumpy bugger, he's crashed there, so we thought we'd harass him, and this is where we sort of want to make a bit of an FPV track, because sometimes it gets too hot to fly, and this would be great also when it's raining. I would love to fly around here. Now, obviously, that Trev's trying to take me out there. Obviously, the receptions are not nearly that bad, so that's just the goggles and the DVR recording. But yeah, this thing, if you want to do some exploring, and the way you can bounce off stuff like I am right here, is a lot of fun. Now, it's not perfect, I guess, you know, it is a little bit heavier than the Whoop, like I mentioned before, and it's also the price, you know, if you're looking at paying for one of these, it's a fair bit of money. I think it's like 150 bucks or 180 Australian, because I know a lot of people always ask me, how much is that Australian? So, you know, it's a fair chunk of money that you're getting for something that's so, you know, for something that you just want to fly around indoors, and you've really got to weigh that up and think, is that worth it? Would I prefer a full-size quad? Or maybe you've got a bunch of full-size quads, and this is sort of the machine that you're after. Now, something I will mention, I am petrified of spiders, well, the Australian spiders anyway, the ones that sort of kill you, so there's no way that I want to go retrieve my quad. I was a little bit paranoid about crashing under there. Alrighty, so there it is. There's my review of the Armour 67. You can see I put a different receiver on here. I ended up putting this one on the Turnage Evolution because this thing is so small, so compact. When I've got my Turnage Evolution radio, I can fit this thing about the same size as the sandwich. I can go out and I can get some FPV action no matter where I am. So if you're stuck indoors, it's raining outside, you would just want to get a little fix, fly around a tiny little craft, this thing is a heap of fun. Now, is it going to replace your TINYWHOOP? I'm going to say there's some pros and cons. Like, it is a little bit heavier, but it's also got a little bit more power, so a heap of fun. I do prefer the batteries, and I think brushless is a better system than brushed because the motors aren't going to burn out, anything like that. Now, the big elephant in the room, is this thing worth it? Because it's pretty expensive for what you get. I mean, it is a great little brushless FPV flyer, no doubt about that, but for the same price, you can also get some much larger options out there. But I guess maybe if you're stuck inside, it's not really about the cost, you more want something that's going to function well, because you might be willing to pay that if that means you can get your FPV action. Anyway, I'll link this down below. What do you guys think about this? What do you think about Trev's FPV track? Because stay tuned, we've got a lot of exciting things to do under there, some big plans. Subscribe for more FPV related content, and as always, happy flying.
The Aurora, look at the size difference.
It is a bit smaller.
I mean, really cool that they're getting so small. I just wondered how small they can go. And what I've seen so far, this flies really stable. I mean, we're getting in little nooks and crannies that you wouldn't believe. So yeah, this has got potential indoor only.
Yeah, I reckon if you're outdoors, that would just get blown around too much.
I think the biggest problem, a blade of grass will hide this in the outdoors. So
there's no buzzer either.
No, well, we've had even stuff like the Lizard. I mean, if you fly those outdoors, which we have, and you don't see where it goes in the grass, you can spend an eternity looking for them. So indoor flyer, but we could actually lose this under my house here, believe me.
I'm not going to get that either with the spiders.
Yeah, so I might have a few of these by the end of the day then.
You might have that one. Right. Alrighty, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. Definitely subscribe if you're new to the channel and check out these videos. And I'm also going to leave a little link here to my Patreon page, because I've got some fantastic Patreon supporters and I like to give back to them as well. So if you want to join the UAVfutures family, there's things like bonus Velcro straps, little bundles of FPV goodies and things like that that also get sent out. Anyway, happy flying.